not gonna lie, I was a huge Pokemaniac. I loved Red and Blue so much. I played both of them. They're basically the same game, and I played through both of them. Multiple times each. You have a lot more spare time as a kid, so you can do things like that. Like, I had played RPGs before, Super Mario RPG and some Final Fantasy games, but what really appealed to me about Pokemon was the fact that your party of characters could be any 6 of 150 options. So really what I wanted was Pokemon on the Nintendo 64. And what we got was Pokemon Snap. And at first I was kind of like, really? Pokemon Snap? Like, as a kid I always thought like Pokemon Snap was a waste of time, and Pokemon Stadium, that's where it was at. Even though that wasn't even what I really wanted. Pokemon Stadium is such a watered down version of the Pokemon experience. Going back, I can see how flawed it was and how the only major appeal was seeing your favorite Pokemon in 3D. Other than that, gameplay was stale and bland and boring. But then when I look back at Pokemon Snap, what I see is a fantastic game that I never really gave a chance to. Pokemon Snap is like one of the unsung heroes of the Nintendo 64 era. Not only is it super fun and cute, but it might just be the greatest photography game ever made. Okay, maybe I'm giving the game a bit too much credit, but the core mechanics are really fun. It kind of feels like a rail shooter. In fact, it is a rail shooter. The only difference is you don't actually kill anything. You do your best to get good framing. You play as Todd, the super generic photography character from the anime series. And you're working for Professor Oak on a Pokemon island, trying to document all the different species that live there. So, Professor Oak sends you down in the 01 vehicle, and you go along these tracks, taking pictures. Some Pokemon are super friendly and love to have their picture taken, and some are a little more camera shy. You gotta convince them to turn their face to you. And by convince, I mean you gotta throw poison balls at them or smack them in the head with apples. At first it seems simple enough. You point, you shoot, you get your picture. Done. Oh, I gotta go get 60 Pokemon pictures and I beat the game? Well, that's really all there is to it. But the depth comes from getting the best photo. Nintendo could have easily settled for, there's Pikachu. Done. You got Pikachu picture. Good for you. Congratulations. But they decided to make things a little more interesting. You can bait Pikachu closer using food, you can make it dizzy with poison, and there's always different circumstances to find them. It's like, oh, you gotta throw a bunch of apples to bait Pikachu over to the surfboard. Suddenly he's surfing. Yeah, it's so funny and cute, and it's worth like a bajillion points. What really ties it together is the rating system. At the end of each photographic expedition, you have to choose pictures to show to Professor Oak. This is really suspenseful. It's like showing your teacher your essay and thinking, oh god, am I gonna pass or not? I don't know. Because you can't just show Professor Oak every single picture you took. He's a busy man. He ain't got time for that shit. So you gotta go through your pictures, carefully examining them, figuring out, which one's gonna be the best? And you gotta mark them with Oak's mark. And then he looks at them, and he'll judge them based on the size of the Pokemon, how many Pokemon are in the frame, what the Pokemon are doing, if they're centered. Yeah, he's picky. Of course, I always doubt Oak's opinion. Sometimes I'm like, okay, my last Chansey picture was pretty good, but this one is totally off the hook. Oak is gonna love it. And he's just like, you were close. And it's like, what? What? How? How? Another big problem is you can get the best picture in the world of a certain Pokemon, but in the end, others are always worth more points. And at the end of the game, spoiler alert, when you catch Mew on film, nothing is going to beat that Mew picture, no matter how bad it looks. And that's because Oak gives a huge bonus for a Mew picture right off the bat. What the hell is that, man? Oh, it's so rare. You're so special because you went to outer space and took a picture of Mew. Well, you know what? Screw that, man. Screw that. Look at this Charmander picture. I got them all together. It was awesome. And there's a nice variety of levels. You got the beach, you got the cave, you got the river. It's a lot of fun. My only big complaint is there's just not enough. You can fly through the game in an hour and a half. I'm not even kidding. It is that short. And I guess they probably should have had all the Pokemon. I know today that's like a really insane request, but back then there were just 150 of them, so really there's no excuse. And by including these extra Pokemon, they'd probably have to do extra courses and really flesh out the game to have the full experience. As it is, it feels kind of like half a game, to be honest. Visually, the game is really nice. It looks about as good as you'd expect being on the Nintendo 64, but it's cute and it's colorful and there's really no reason to complain. The animation of the Pokemon is really good too. There's nothing like seeing Magmar fight another Magmar, or fight Charmander and turn him into Charmeleon with his fire breath. And you'll never forget the first time Charizard bursts out of that volcano. It's like, holy crap, Charizard. He was always one of my favorites growing up. I love the Pokemon episode with Charizard and Aerodactyl. Or the one with Charizard and Magmar, both really good. Really, I think any young boy who loved Pokemon when it first started could easily say his favorite episode involves Charizard in some way or another. Of course, there's no point picking apart the technical aspects of this game. It's pretty competent across the board. The major draw is the idea. There just aren't a lot of photography games, and this one's pretty solid. It teaches you basic photography, how to frame your shots, and what looks good and what looks bad. The only problem is, it should go deeper. It should have more to it. What about focus? Wouldn't it be great to have to manually focus your camera to get the crispest possible shot? That way, you can have a shot that's framed perfectly, but Oak's not going to like it, it's a little blurry. Or how about while you're in the caves, you need to worry about flash photography. You don't want to be too close or you're going to blow out the photo. I can just see it. Todd in the cave with a camera in one hand, a light meter in the other. Now that'd be cool. Hey Nintendo, here's an idea. Pokemon Snap 2 for the Wii U. Well, I guess it'd probably be called Pokemon Snap U. Snap U. Snap at you. Yeah, it's probably never going to happen. But I said the same thing about Luigi's Mansion 2, and well, I guess we're getting that, so maybe, right? As it stands though, Pokemon Snap is a pretty easy game to find, and it's a lot of fun. I wouldn't pay a lot of money because it's so short, but if you like photography or Pokemon or rail shooters, it's really worth a look. Pokemon Snap. Give it a try, won't you? I wonder if there's an alternate dimension where Pokemon Snap is a rhythm game. Yeah, think about it. Gotta keep the rhythm with the snapping. You got the Nintendo 64 Hey You Pikachu microphone set up right here, and you just gotta make the snap when Pikachu snaps. Yeah, Pikachu's on the screen telling you what to do, and you gotta be like, yeah,